Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, thank you so much for clicking to watch this video. I'm Intentional Favor and a registered social worker here in England. Please consider subscribing. Also turn on your notification bell so that you get notified whenever I upload new videos. And to my returning subscribers, thank you guys so much for always coming back. In today's video, as you must have seen from the title, I'll be sharing with you some questions to expect during your social work ASYE interview. By the way, this is a part 2. There's already a part 1 of this video where I asked and answered series of questions. Do well to check the description box for the link to that video. And without much ado, let's jump straight into today's video. So the first question I have here is why the council and what skills and knowledge will you be bringing? This is more like 2-in-1 question. I actually applied to several local authorities and I got asked this particular question in so many of them. As you may know, when you apply for social work ASYE post, it's mostly with local authorities, not limited to it can be with NHS. But basically what this question is asking you, the first part is asking you, why did you apply to work with us? Why did you apply to this NHS trust? Why did you apply to this local authority? And this calls for you to do some research to know certain things about the local authority. You can talk about probably their Ofsted rating. If their Ofsted rating is excellent, for instance, that's something to talk about, that you check their Ofsted rating and it is excellent, or you read their Ofsted report. This can be found online for every local authority. You can tell them that you read their Ofsted report, and maybe this is a clue. Just try and look for the latest Ofsted report of the particular local authority that you are applying to. When you read it, try and highlight the important things or the good or positive things that they were praised for. So you can highlight on that to answer this question. Probably they talked about their partnership working, they talked about how they work within time scales. Basically every positive things that Ofsted rated them excellent or good for. The good things, the positive things that they got good remarks for, you can actually highlight on that. I think this will do justice to this question. You can also talk about probably the location or the city. Let's say that is a very popular city. You can tell them how you always look forward to working in this particular city or with this local authority. Basically, why did you apply to that? What are the good things that you can say about that particular local authority, that particular NHS trust, or wherever it is that you applied to? So the second part of the question is about what skills and knowledge you'll be bringing. So if they employ you, what are the skills and knowledge you'll be bringing on board? So what are the basic social work skills that you require? Talk about your communication skills, how you are able to communicate effectively. You are a good listener or an active listener. And one key, let me mention it now, about social work interviews is citing examples. Panelists will always expect you to give them examples from your experiences. Before applying to do ASYE, you must have completed 100 days of placement, right? So that's enough experience to talk about during your interview. You might not be expected to have every knowledge and skills required, right? But at least you should have some skills that you have acquired during the process of your training. And of course, that's why they asked about knowledge. So you can tell them about your good communication skills, how you're an active listener, talk about empathy, which is very important. And one thing you can highlight about empathy is the fact that empathy actually, maybe you can talk about it as that it has helped you to work with families effectively. That when you are empathetic, it helps you to understand their position. In a nutshell, or in simple terms, being empathetic simply means putting yourself in one's shoes. So that when you've been empathetic, you put yourself in the shoes of the service users. It has helped you to actually understand them, understand how they feel, and that way you can actually work with them and they always feel comfortable around you, and you've worked effectively with them during your practice, as a student, right? So these are some of the things you can talk about. Just think about every skill. Time management skills, that's another skill that you can talk about. So it's simple. You can just go on Google and ask social work skills. All the skills will come out there. Make sure that you have points for you to talk about when you are asked these questions. Then talking about knowledge, you can also talk about knowledge from your university, okay? One good example is knowledge of law, okay? You are aware of probably if you're applying for adult role, you are aware of the Mental Health Act, Mental Capacity Act, you are aware of the Care Act. If you are applying to the children's sector, you talk about Children and Family Act, you know about that, Adoption Act, and all of that. So basically about knowledge, I will advise that you dwell much on the laws, because there's no way that you practice social work without the laws. We apply every section of the acts of all these laws, be it in the adult sector or children's sector. We all work with the law. So talk about about your knowledge of the relevant laws to the post you applied for. The second question: what is the importance of supervision to you, the department, and families? So this is talking about supervision generally, but now they categorized it. What's the importance to you as a social worker or as an aspiring social worker? What's the importance of supervision to the department that you are working with, probably your team, okay? And what's the importance to the families that you work with? One importance of supervision is accountability. Well, during supervision, you are held accountable. That's an opportunity for you to discuss your cases with your manager. So I also expect you to share examples during your placement, the supervisions you've had and how it helped you to navigate your cases. If you've had that experience, you can testify that during supervision, you of course share your cases where you are at with your manager or with whoever that is supervising you. It is also an opportunity for you to tell them the challenges that you are facing with a case or with some cases. And you find out that when you do that, one, it keeps you accountable, and also it helps you to navigate your cases and make sure that you are doing the right thing. So supervision gives you an opportunity to share your cases, to discuss your cases, and of course highlight the challenges. And of course the person that is supervising you, who is a senior, will be able to draw your attention to some things that you might not have thought of, or give you advice on some things, or give you kind of reinforce or motivate you that you are doing the right thing. So when you know you are doing the right thing, it actually encourages you and helps you to do more. And when you are not doing the right thing, they will correct you. And when that happens, you find out that it will also tell on the families you are working with, because that way, when you have adequate supervision, one thing is that it helps you to avoid making any mistake that will impact on the family. So supervision will help the families for them to have the best experience. Okay, so in a nutshell, supervision will help the families to receive the best service that they could receive. There will be no mistakes because you are accountable. The same goes to the department, because when you receive adequate supervision, you make no mistakes, the department is kind of safe, you might say that, because there will be no issues with the families for the families to probably sue the department or do anything. You just make sure that everything is in order. Okay, another thing is that supervision is not just about discussing your cases. During supervision, you are also meant to discuss your emotional and mental well-being. Okay, how are you coping? How are you managing? Are you stressed? Do you think the workload is too much? You find out that when you have proper supervision, it's very important for you as a social worker, so that you will be able to express yourself. It gives you opportunity to express how you feel. Okay, you can tell them how maybe you are struggling with this caseload is quite high and all of that. You get what I mean? So supervision will give you that opportunity. And the same way, if you are able to discuss that during supervision and your manager takes into account some of the things you say, probably you are going through stress or you are having some personal issues, they will even ask you, is everything good at home? Do you have any personal challenges? That is opportunity for you to share all of that. And once you do that, your manager will be able to make sure that your caseloads are well managed, and because they kind of have a duty of care. Your manager, your workplace have a duty of care. So they have to make sure that you're in the best shape, in the best position, in the best frame of mind to work. And when you're in the best frame of mind to work, you'll find out that the families you work with will definitely benefit from the best services. So these are some of the things you can say or talk about when answering this particular question. The next question: how will you ensure you meet deadlines and work with given time frames? Why is this important? So every local authority, every workplace, they have time frames for everything. When it comes to writing an assessment, there is a time frame for assessment. Writing a court report, everything, there is a time frame for that. Going out on visits, sometimes depending on the case, for instance, if it's child protection, you have to see a child within 24 hours and all of that. There are given time frames. So they're asking you, how will you ensure that you meet up with time frames? How will you make sure that you meet deadlines for every work that you are given? So I think this is the importance of probably having a diary. So you can talk about having a diary, and that diary will help you to plan your daily activities the best way possible, and not keep a diary, because keeping a diary will actually help you that you don't miss some things. You find out that sometimes when you don't note something in your diary, there are chances that you will forget. Okay, and when you forget, by the time you remember, it's either it's close to the deadline or the deadline has passed. So that diary keeping is very, very important. That's one way that can help you to meet up with deadlines. Another way is case prioritization. Of course, maybe there is a case that came me this is an old case, and maybe if it's writing an assessment, let's say you have 20 days to write that assessment, and then the following week, maybe it's now like 10 days to go, and then something comes up, and that thing that came up actually needs urgent attention, that maybe the deadline is this, okay, then you find out that you have to make sure that you prioritize that one urgently so that you meet the deadline. And this also brings me to the importance of knowing the given time frames. Yeah, very important. You might want to talk about this. I'm sure they will be impressed when you talk about this. You will meet up deadlines when you know the time frames for some things. So if you know that you have 20 days to complete an assessment for this court work or whatever, court report, you have 35 days. If you know the given time frames, I think that is the start of it. That's the first point, knowing the given time frames. Then you prioritize your cases based on the time frames and make sure that you have good diary. You can of course have other tips, okay, that can help you to meet up with deadlines. But basically, when you know the time frames and you record it, you keep diary and make sure that everything is in place. Those are the things that can actually help you to meet with deadlines. And another one is supervision, like we talked about earlier. Make sure that you use supervision to tell your manager if your caseloads are high. For instance, you have so many court reports to write, so many court stuffs to do, you find out that there are some works that would take so much of your time, right? And there are others that will not take so much of your time. And if you are doing the ones taking your time, some might be suffering, and before you know it, you are engrossed in this one you pass the deadline. So I think if you appropriately use supervision, you can meet deadlines by telling your manager, and that's the importance of the diary, that look, this court work is actually taking a lot of my time to do, whereas look at this one, the deadline is so and so time, and it's around the corner. Your manager will find a way around it, either reallocate a case to you or something. And you know, the next question is, why is this important? It's important to make sure that, of course, you meet deadlines and that the team is not under pressure. Because when you manage your deadlines, for instance, if you tell your manager ahead of time about a work that you can't do because another one is taking so much of your time, your manager will know how to manage the case, to reallocate the case so that the team will not be under so much pressure. And of course, there won't be losses. Sometimes when you don't meet a deadline, it can have some adverse effects on you. For instance, if the court gives you a deadline to submit a report, if you don't, it has repercussions, okay? So by doing that, you will avoid all of this, and it will help you to ease pressure. The last question I'll be sharing in this video is, you are on duty and receives a call from school that a child has bruises, and when asked, said it was his mom that hit him. What will you do? So you are on duty, of course, you are the one on duty, and then a call comes in. When you are on duty, depending on the setting of the local authority, you will receive calls, and you receive a call that this child, probably a child that is has already opened, okay, to your team, okay, and then the call comes in that, oh, this child, this, as you've seen, there's a bruise on the body, and this child was asked, and the child said that it was his mom or her mom that hit him or her, and then you are asked, what will you do? Yeah, this is a very practical question, and you might expect something like this. Let's be practical because it's a practical question, right? First of all, you are on a call and you receive this information. That is where your communication skills come into place. The first thing to do is, of course, to take some information from the caller, apparently a teacher or head teacher or anybody from the school. Okay, what's the name of this child and the date of birth and everything? Ask them about the bruise. Where is it? Where is the mark on his body? And who asked him the question? Under what circumstances? So make sure that you ask the right questions to get the full picture of the whole thing, because sometimes schools can be shallow. I don't know how best to put it, but for lack of a better word, they can be shallow when it comes to giving some information. And sometimes you find out that you might think this is a very big issue, but at the end of the day, they either exaggerated or they are just being risk averse, okay? So make sure that you know the right questions to ask. And that's one skill. Talking about the first question, you can actually highlight on that you have good questioning skills. You know how to ask the right question. Writing skill, there's so many skills basically to talk about. So that's when you will actually show for these skills, ask them the right question, gather the details and everything. So you can also ask them at that point, have they spoken to the mother of this child? You also need to ask them that question, because some of them will actually phone the mother before calling you So make sure you ask them that question, whether they have called the mom and did the mom admit to it or not. Okay. And after doing all of that, gather the whole information to get the full picture of what it is. Of course, do advise them that you will get back to them, but they should just make sure that they keep the child in a safe place until you get back to them. And after they call, you need to speak to a manager, okay, and discuss this with them. So depending on what the manager will advise, probably the manager will tell you, okay, we need to go out and see this child, and a social worker or social workers to actually talk to this child, okay, because you never can tell how the teachers asked the question or what the situation was. So the manager will advise on that, who will go out. So they might send out social workers to go out, okay, or ask you to go out, depending, to go and talk to this child. You ask the right question to gather information, and depending on what the child discloses, if the child discloses again the second time that it is the mom that did this, and you can actually see the bruise, you can actually see the mark by yourself. Of course, you ask the school previously to describe the mark, the location, was and all of that. Then when you see that, you can now ring back your manager to say, okay, this is actually significant. The child is still consistent with the fact that yes, it's my mom that did it. In that case, what usually happens is that a decision might be made for a strategy meeting to be held. So the strategy meeting will involve the police, school, health, social services, basically, for this case, for instance. And then when they will have that meeting, they will discuss whether threshold is met for section 47 or not. And if all the professionals at that meeting agree that section 47 threshold is met, then there will be need for a child protection medical. Then the child will be taken to the hospital for a child protection medical, and things will continue from there. You get it? But the basic thing for you to do when answering this question is that point of asking the school the right question. Get every detail, every information you need. Afterwards, relay this to a manager, and when the manager tells you what to do, you can, of course, if you want to explain to them that you know the whole process, this is actually the process normally, and that will actually sell you off and tell the panel members that you are actually a good catch. You know what I mean? So guys, that's the end of this video. I want to believe you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to give it thumbs up. Hopefully there will be a part 3, because I still have some list of questions from my experience of attending so many interviews that I'll be sharing in a subsequent video. Do watch out for that video, but please still don't forget to give this video thumbs up, like it, subscribe to the channel if you have not, share this video with many people that you think might need it, and I'll be seeing you in my next one. Until then, stay blessed, remain intentional, and take good care of yourselves. Bye.